Chapter 2375, 100 Flowers Tower, Qingxiao City, one of the 9 cities of Luogu territory. 100 Flowers Tower was the most luxurious and busiest place in Qingxiao City. It was always lit up, regardless of day or night. 100 Flowers Tower covered a large area, and yet it was always fully occupied by a massive number of practitioners, not less than 1,000 people. All of them gathered in groups of 2 or 3 with beautiful ladies as their drinking companions. There were female dancers dancing on the high stage in front. 100 Flowers Tower was a place of drinking and merrymaking for all the practitioners. A brothel would be how people from the mortal world would call it. I didn't expect this place to be so heated up. Xiao Heng, Jian Wushuang, and the rest of the group were also inside the tower. They took up a table while taking in the sight around them. It's quite normal. Luogu territory is known to be a messy place filled with outlaws of every sort. Naturally, there are many who are interested in sex, and the 100 Flowers Tower is the sort of place built to satisfy these people. From the looks of it, 100 Flowers Tower's annual income must be astronomical, said Xiao Heng. The second miss of the Mu clan that we're looking for, her real name is Mu Xiaoxiao. According to intelligence, she is right here in 100 Flowers Tower. Since she is here, does that mean she has become? One of the core disciples could not help but ask. However, he swallowed his last words. Xiao Heng frowned as well and answered, no matter what she has become, our mission here is to bring her back to the sect, and that's it. Of course, we need to locate her first. The core disciples nodded their heads. Right at that moment. Gentlemen. A booming voice was resonating in every corner of 100 Flowers Tower with the help of divine power. All patrons in 100 Flowers Tower who were drinking, merrymaking, chatting and laughing suddenly quieted down. They moved their focus onto a woman wearing a silver robe in the middle of the tower. Gentlemen, we're reaching the most important part of the night. Miss Xiao is coming out soon. Please keep your eyes open. The silver-robed lady smiled. As soon as she finished her speech, the entire tower was filled with continuously thunderous roars, excited screams, and frenzied shouts. Jian Wushuang and the rest sitting at the table noticed the atmosphere immediately changing into an extremely passionate one. Miss Xiao. Xiao Heng frowned and pointed at someone on the side. You, come over. It was 100 Flowers Tower waiter dressed in black which Xiao Heng was pointed at. As soon as he heard him, the waiter flatteringly went over. Xiao Heng first took out a few elixir pills from his interspatial ring and passed them to the waiter in black. His eyes lit up when the latter took a glance at them. I wonder how can I be of service to you, young masters? The waiter smiled extremely respectfully. Let me ask you, who is that Miss Xiao the lady mentioned just now? Why did people all go nuts hearing her name? Asked Xiao Heng. The waiter in black laughed out loud. That's all you want to know? I see that it's your first time being in 100 Flowers Tower. It might even be your first time being in Qingxiao City. Otherwise, it's impossible that you've never heard of Miss Xiao. She is the #1 dancer in Luogu territory. She is also our centerpiece at 100 Flowers Tower. Every time Miss Xiao appears, she would attract countless practitioners to come, and there is no shortage of powerful ones or those with a deep background. Please look over there, gentlemen. Jian Wushuang and his company followed the direction that the waiter was pointing at and immediately saw a beast-like man who was carrying a battle axe on his back. The beast man occupied a table all by himself, and nobody dared to sit near him either. He was only drinking quietly, yet nobody seemed to have the guts to disturb him. First-class divine demon? He is unusually powerful too. Jian Wushuang's pupils shrunk slightly. He could tell with one glance that the beast-like man was an extremely powerful first-class divine demon. However, when it came to pressure, this man gave a bit more pressure than Wu Jian toward Jian Wushuang. His name is Qing Mo, an expert of great fame in the Luogu territory. His ability is among the top-tier first-class divine demons and is already very close to the level of the 9 cities' governors. Moreover, he is an extremely arrogant man. He doesn't like to befriend anyone, but since he saw Miss Xiao for the first time half a year ago, he has been sitting here daily, just to wait for Miss Xiao's appearance. He is simply sitting there and not interacting with anyone or even showing interest in other dancers and beauties here. He is a very strange one, said the waiter in black. Jian Wushuang, Xiao Heng, and the rest began to sigh secretly. Now look over there, look at that private room on the second floor. There is a restriction for that room. You can't see the insides, but people there can clearly see everything outside. The one in that private room is the eldest young master of Qingxiao City, whose father is the governor and a peak stage divine demon. And those gentlemen over there are from the Shu clan, one of the 3 big clans of Qingxiao City. The waiter in black kept on introducing them to the patrons who were major figures not only in Qingxiao City but also in the entire Luogu territory. All these people, they are here just for Miss Xiao, said the waiter. All these experts, with many of them being young masters of extremely huge backgrounds, are waiting like dogs, just for that Xiao? Is she really that special? Xiao Heng frowned. Whether she is that special, you'll see it in a moment. Oh, there she is, said the waiter in black. As he said that, Xiao Heng, Zhen Wushuang, and the rest of their group looked ahead right away. The 100 Flowers Tower at that moment broke into a passionate roar. Countless practitioners had their eyes burning with fire and craze. All they could see right then was only one person. It was the woman who slowly floated down from the second floor, like an angel in a painting. The woman was so slender and perfectly shaped that no one could find any flaws in her. The most stunning aspect was her aura. It was an unusually unique aura, the kind of charm that was bone deep. Every move she made could make one forever dream about her. She floated and landed on the high stage at the center. Only then did she slowly raise her head, but her face was covered with a veil and nobody could see her actual face. However, just the aura she projected and the way she moved could inspire the wildest fantasies in countless practitioners' minds. This woman, Xiao Heng, looked quietly at the woman on the high stage and could only helplessly say, although her body and aura were flawless, her face is covered after all. I can't see her face. Besides, even if she is devastatingly beautiful, how is it possible that she could make so many practitioners go crazy about her? Chapter 2376. Drunk in the heart. Xiao Heng has to admit that the woman on stage was truly attractive, but to mesmerize so many practitioners and experts into going crazy over her, there must be something more to her. Oh, don't be hasty, just watch. The waiter in black smiled. After the momentary excitement, the entire 100 Flowers Tower quieted down. A peeper started ringing lightly as the woman in a veil started her dance on stage. Her figure was very enchanting and her dance was so beautiful it made people's hearts intoxicated. All of her moves were unforgettable. Every move she made was so perfect and flawless. Everyone's heartstrings were plucked with her every turn, nobody could divert his eyesight away from her. Even her eyes, as if they could speak, were giving looks that could put everyone in an ecstatic state. 100 Flowers Tower was in dead silence. An absolute deadly silence, except for the continuous peeper music. Everybody had lost themselves and forgotten about everything. All that was left in their eyes and minds was the woman who was dancing like a butterfly on the high stage. Everyone was completely intoxicated by her perfect dance moves and were unable to pull themselves together. At Zhen Wushuang's table, other than him, Xiao Heng and the rest of the core disciples could not help but stand up. Their eyes were deadlocked to the woman on the high stage. Their eyesights were completely attracted, and their expressions were idle. Not only them but everyone in the room. For example, the beast-like man who had a battle axe on his back. An honorable first-class divine demon like him could not help but to completely dumbfoundedly immerse himself at the moment. That moment went on for a very, very long time. Finally, the peeper sounded gradually faded away and the woman on the high stage slowly stopped her movements. As the music ended, everybody was still deeply submerged in the atmosphere, unable to snap out of it for a long time. The woman on stage bowed slightly while her extremely pretty, absolutely seductive, and lively eyes were scanning through everyone in the room. Anyone who had met her eyes would immediately fall into a passionate daze. Some tried to keep their demeanor, but their hearts were surging in waves. The beast-like man, Xiao Heng, and the rest were all like that. The woman was very satisfied. However, when her eyes scanned across Zhen Wushuang, she felt slightly surprised. She noticed that there was no passion or craze in Zhen Wushuang's eyes when he looked at her. He was not affected at all. This man is interesting. She looked at him for a split moment before immediately retracted her attention. She very soon turned around and went back to her room. Only when she had completely disappeared from everyone's sight that the 100 Flowers Tower began to resume its usual noisiness again. There were countless screams and shouts around the space, exclaiming the heavenly sight that they just witnessed. The woman's dancing was just too beautiful. Before that kind of dance posture, nobody could resist her seduction. "Gentlemen, what do you think?" The waiter in black who was standing next to Jian Wushuang's table asked with a smile. "Now I know why so many people are crazy about Miss Xiao. The dance was truly very beautiful," said Xiao Heng with his face clearly still mesmerized. Obviously, what he witnessed had fundamentally stunned him. There was even a trace of yearning and craze in him. It was the kind of yearning and craze towards that woman. Not only him but the other 4 core disciples as well. Only Jian Wushuang could still keep calm after watching such a dance. However, he had to admit that the woman's dancing was truly attractive and flawless. "Oh yes, where did Miss Xiao go?" asked Xiao Heng. The waiter smiled. "Back to her own room, of course. Miss Xiao is different from regular dancers. She doesn't usually show herself other than dancing once in a while. If you gentlemen would like to meet her, there's only one way to do it. You'll have to pay a small price, write a visitation request, and send it to her through our employees here in 100 Flowers Tower. As for the content, it's up to you what you want to write. We'll guarantee that Miss Xiao will be the only one who'll read it. It's up to Miss Xiao herself whether she wants to meet you after that. And if Miss Xiao agreed to meet you, you can make requests such as taking off her veil and see her face or perform a private dance for you. They are all allowed. Only to see her face or ask her to dance. Is that it?" One of the core disciples frowned. The waiter smiled. "Of course, what else is there to do? Let me remind you gentlemen that Miss Xiao is only a dancer, she only sells her art and not her body. This is the rule that nobody can break. There are countless experts in Luogu territory who yearn to spend a night with Miss Xiao, but those are just wishful thinking as nobody could pull it off. Even if they're top-class experts or from a huge background, they couldn't ask for the impossible. Do know that Miss Xiao is the face of 100 Flowers Tower and our ability is way above the 9 cities' governors. The master of 100 Flowers Tower is one of the few super experts that are hiding in Luogu territory who are even stronger than those in Divine Demon Realm. Tell me, who would dare to push their luck here with a background such as his?" Xiao Heng and the others understood the situation while listening to that, but at the same time felt even crazier over Miss Xiao. Selling her art but not her body, that just made her even more attractive. "Gentlemen, would you like to send a visitation request?" asked the waiter in black. "Sure, of course, we will. But what's the small price for sending the visitation request?" asked Xiao Heng. "It's simple, just 10 golden spirit elixir," said the waiter in black. "What?" Xiao Heng and his company were stunned. Golden Spirit Elixir was an elixir pill that Divine Demon Realm experts used to upgrade their ability. It was quite an important item for them. Xiao Heng and the other Narcissus Island core disciples could merely receive 30 Golden Spirit Elixir every year from the sect. However, it was the cost of sending a visitation request over here. It was hard to deny that was an expensive price to pay for a visitation request. It's true that it's a high price to pay, but even so there are so many people in Qingxiao City sending visitation requests non-stop, just to see Miss Xiao's beautiful face. However, there had only been a very few lucky ones who actually got to meet her. "If you gentlemen wish to, you could give it a try." The waiter in black smiled. Chapter 2377, Miss Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples stared back and forth at each other. "If my guess is right, our target for this mission is probably this Miss Xiao. If we want to bring Miss Xiao back to Narcissus Island, we must find a way to contact her, and sending a visitation request is probably the only way." Xiao Heng spoke to the 4 core disciples while lowering his voice. "Yes, we can each contribute some golden spirit elixir pills to make a total of 10, said one of them. The few of them had reached an agreement very quickly. Throughout their discussion, they did not once ask for Jian Wushuang's opinion. It was until the moment for the contribution of golden spirit elixir that Xiao Heng looked over at Jian Wushuang. "Jian Wushuang, We need 10 golden spirit elixir. Why don't you contribute 3? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. 3. I alone had to contribute 3 and the 5 of you only contribute 7? One of the core disciples angrily stared at him. What, are you not convinced? Kid, make sure you know your place here. If it wasn't for Elder Wujian, a mere outer disciple like you wouldn't be qualified to join the mission. Now we're asking you to contribute 3 pills. If you run into trouble in the future we could help you a little, otherwise. Furthermore, don't think that I didn't know you could get a lot more resources than us core disciples because of Elder Wujian, even though you're an outer disciple. It's just 3 pills, you don't even need it for the chaotic realm. So, take it out already. The core disciples including Xiao Heng spoke in a forceful tone. Jian Wushuang's lips curved upwards after listening to what they had said and taken out 3 golden spirit elixir pills with the flip of his wrist. It's just 3 pills, here it is. At least you know your place, kid. Xiao Heng and the rest sneered. However, they did not know that Jian Wushuang was quietly sneering too. As soon as he received the mission, he had a feeling that it would not be a regular mission. There were no guarantees that they would not run into some big troubles. At this time, he was actually observing their attitude towards him to decide how to reciprocate. Now, all 5 core disciples were obviously treating him like dirt, even taking advantage of his resources. Therefore, if they really were in danger, he would not care about the sentiments of being under the same sect and would not be very gentlemanlike when he made his move. We have 10 golden spirit elixirs now, how should we send the visitation request? Xiao Heng once again summoned the waiter. You can just write down the things you want to say in a token, seal it, and give it to me. I will have someone pass it to Miss Xiao unscathed, said the waiter in black. Sure. Xiao Heng nodded, took out a token right away, wrote a word on it before sealing it, and passed it to the waiter together with 10 golden spirit elixirs. Please wait, gentlemen. I'll now submit your visitation request. The waiter in black went up to the 2nd floor with the request. Senior brother Xiao Heng, what did you write in the token? Asked one of the core disciples curiously. Just a very simple moo, said Xiao Heng. Moo. The core disciples paused before understanding right away. If Miss Xiao really was the Mu clan's 2nd miss which they were looking for, she would then understand their visitation reasons and will probably meet them upon seeing the word moo. An hour passed in the blink of an eye. 100 Flowers Tower was still extremely lively. Like Xiao Heng, a lot of practitioners had submitted their visitation requests with 10 golden spirit elixir pills as its price and were all waiting for her answer. Everybody was hoping the content of their visitation requests could move Miss Xiao into meeting them. At that moment, the waiter in black who submitted the visitation request for Xiao Heng came back to them. Gentlemen, Miss Xiao invites you to gather upstairs, said the smiling waiter. Oh! Xiao Heng's eyes lit up. The other 4 core disciples immediately became excited as well. They were excited not because they were finally meeting the target of their mission, but like everybody else in 100 Flowers Tower, they genuinely yearned to meet Miss Xiao alone or to watch her dance in close proximity. In fact, they were all conquered by Miss Xiao's dancing. Gentlemen, this way. The waiter in black led them upstairs. When the rest of the patrons saw them, they were all very disappointed. They all wished that Miss Xiao could meet them, but she obviously accepted some other people now. Sigh, let's go. Till next time. I've already submitted 9 times, but couldn't get through once. 9 times is nothing, I've submitted 13 times. The practitioners all left while cursing under their breaths. Everybody knew of Miss Xiao's rules as she would only accept 1 visitation each time. Now that Miss Xiao had chosen to meet Xiao Heng, they had no business staying back any longer. The 2nd floor, in a private room. The waiter in black led Xiao Heng and his group to the door of her room before signaling them to go in by themselves. Xiao Heng and his company, including Jian Wushuang, did not hesitate and stepped inside. The room was delicately decorated. There was a round table in the middle and a partition screen next to the table. Miss Xiao was sitting behind it at that moment. When Jian Wushuang and the rest entered the room, Xiao Li, you can go downstairs, instructed Xiao. Yes. The obedient maid next to her left immediately as well. There was no one else in the room other than the 6 people from Narcissus Island and Xiao. Xiao stood up slowly and walked out from the partition screen. "Greetings, young masters." She bowed slightly. "Miss Xiao, you don't need to be too courteous," said Xiao Heng immediately, clearly trying very hard to suppress his passion. Although that was their first meeting, Xiao Heng had already been completely conquered by this heavenly beauty. "Miss Xiao has seen the visitation request that we've sent and even invited us here. I take that you've understood the reason we're here," said Xiao Heng humbly while acting as a sophisticated gentleman. Gentlemen, are you from my Mu clan family?" Miss Xiao raised her head with her beautiful and attractive eyes. "No, but we were sent by the Mu clan to bring Miss Xiao back," said Xiao Heng directly. "So I guess the Mu clan has finally found me." Miss Xiao's body trembled as luminous tears discreetly gliding out of her eyes. Finally, Miss Xiao was trembling with excitement, giving the rest an impression of her gentleness and tenderness. Chapter 2378. The Formidable One. Seeing the changes in Miss Xiao's expression, Xiao Heng was touched as his affection for her rose from the bottom of his heart. Such feelings were understandable. According to the information they had received, Miss Xiao was abducted a long time ago. Approximately more than 10 years ago. No one knew how much a weak woman like her had suffered in the past 10 years, but they knew it must be no common suffering for her to make it to the preeminent spot that she was at the 100 Flowers Tower without a family. "Miss Xiao, we will take you back to the Mu clan," said Xiao Heng. Miss Xiao shook her head repeatedly. "No, I can't go back. I can't go back. Masters, this might be the first time all of you came to the Qingxiao city or even to the Luogu territory, so you don't know how terrifying the 100 Flowers Tower is. Now that I am very useful to them, they'll never let me go. I'll never be able to leave. Mph, we don't need their consent to take you away." Xiao Heng sneered. The 4 core disciples that were seated next to him all had a cold and fearsome look. The 100 Flowers Tower might have an intimidating presence in the Luogu territory, as the hearsay was that they were backed by some powerhouse above the divine demon realm. However, Xiao Heng and his people were from Narcissus Island and were notably arrogant and imperious as they relied on their unshakable sect. The 100 Flowers Tower was just a nobody in their eyes. "Miss Xiao, you can just come with us without worries. We'll definitely guarantee your safety and no one will be able to hurt you again," said Xiao Heng solemnly, and the fire in his eyes could no longer be hidden. The 4 core disciples next to him had the same thoughts, as they had been so enthralled by Miss Xiao that they were no longer bound by the sect's mission. Jian Wushuang noticed that and his pupils shrank slightly. Although she didn't use any means, this woman's emanating subtle charm from within her is enough to mess up people's minds. No ordinary chaotic divine demon could withstand this kind of temptation, murmured Jian Wushuang. At least, people like Xiao Heng and his disciples were unable to resist her temptations. At times like these, let alone the 100 Flowers Tower, even if they were to face the Great Compassion sect, Xiao Heng and his people would have gone all out to help Miss Xiao to escape. "Xiao is touched from the kindness shown by all of you masters, but the 100 Flowers Tower isn't to be taken lightly. There were people who wanted to rescue me. Some were even powerful and capable, but they were all trampled and killed by the 100 Flowers Tower's powerhouses in the end. Although all of you are skillful masters, I'm afraid it's still not enough to fight against the 100 Flowers Tower," said Miss Xiao. Xiao Heng and his people frowned. Miss Xiao pondered for a moment and lifted her head again. "If you really want to save me, there may be a chance. Miss Xiao, quickly tell us about it." Xiao Heng immediately looked over. "It's as such, I've heard from the employees of 100 Flowers Tower that there will be a huge auction in Qingxiao City 10 days later. This large-scale auction will attract many powerful people. The powerful people in Qingxiao City will be attending the auction, including those from the divine demon realm of 100 Flowers Tower. Of all times, 100 Flowers Tower should be weakly guarded, and if masters act on that day, there might be a chance for success. Besides, I've lived here for so many years and I've made some friends. I can find a way to remove some of the strong guards. We'll have a greater chance of success if we work in collusion from both the inside and outside," said Miss Xiao. Both Xiao Heng and the core disciples' eyes lit up. "All right, that sounds like a plan. Well, do it 10 days later when the auction begins. Well, work in tandem with Miss Xiao to carry out the plan, said Xiao Heng before clasped both of his hands together. The 4 core disciples also nodded their heads in agreement. They all thought that the plan was feasible. In that case, Xiao will be here waiting for all of you masters to arrive after 10 days, said Miss Xiao softly with her soft and melodious voice, putting them in a trance. Miss Xiao, don't worry. I'll definitely take you away from here in 10 days' time. Xiao Heng promised. They went through the details. Xiao Heng and his people then left after getting some information about the guards of the 100 Flowers Tower from Miss Xiao. During their departure, Miss Xiao glanced at Jian Wushuang half-heartedly, and Jian Wushuang also returned her gaze. Both eyes met momentarily. The corner of Jian Wushuang's lips raised into a faint smile, and Miss Xiao caught the trace of banter in his smile. After Jian Wushuang, Xiao Heng, and the others left, little Li, the maid who left, had returned to the room and walked up to Miss Xiao. Have you found out the identities of these people? Asked Miss Xiao casually, still looking so beautiful. I found out that these 6 people are all from Narcissus Island. Among them, the 5 divine demon realms are all core disciples of Narcissus Island. The leader, Xiao Heng, is a genius, but still falls short compared with the 12 minor kings. Their strengths are just average. As for the last person, he is just an outer disciple of Narcissus Island and hasn't been long since he joined Narcissus Island. I haven't got any detailed information about him as he is just a chaotic realm. There's nothing you should worry about, said little Li. Miss Xiao's gaze turned as she gave little Li a sidelong glance. The gentleness in her eyes was long gone and chilliness took its place. No need to worry. I've told you to never underestimate the opponent, even if the other party is just a mortal or even a baby. Once you take them lightly, it's very likely that you will be doomed in their hands. I'll remember your teachings, miss. Little Li shuddered and immediately lowered her head. Miss Xiao's gaze softened gradually. Let me tell you this, among the 6 people just now, the 5 core disciples of Narcissus Island including Xiao Heng, are indeed just a bunch of fools. The chaotic realm that you overlooked is the most terrifying person. His mind is steady and has attained imperturbability. Other people, including some extremely powerful divine demon realms, even if they are first-class divine demons or peak divine demons, their minds will be affected to a certain extent as long as they stand before me. But he didn't, even for the slightest bit. I was secretly observing him. His mind was as calm as water since the beginning and he was not shaken by the slightest. Such a person is scarce in the entire Wuxia wilderness. I even suspected that he is an old monster that has lived for hundreds of thousands of years in disguise, hiding his aura. Moreover, he gave away a dangerous kind of feeling when he stood in front of me, making me subconsciously think not to provoke him. How can I not be wary of such a person? Chapter 2379, Not an easy one. A cold sweat broke out profusely from little Li as she stood aside, listening. She never thought that among the few people she met just now, the most inconspicuous person, someone that she said to ignore, turned out to be the most terrifying among all. He was so appalling that even Miss Xiao was fearful of him. She knew very well of Miss Xiao's capabilities. She could not fathom how abominably a person could be to leave a trace of fear in Miss Xiao, yet she almost dismissed his presence. 10 days later, these people from Narcissus Island will break into 100 Flowers Tower, and at that time, we will fully cooperate with them. I assume that you should know what to do, said Miss Xiao. I know what to do. Little Li nodded slightly. Go and prepare for it. You have to be more careful this time, Miss Xiao reminded. Yes. Little Li nodded again and immediately went away. Soon, Miss Xiao was the only person left in the room. Her face was still covered with a veil while her expression had somewhat returned to its calm and relaxed state. She casually sat down, looking charming and mesmerizing as usual with her every move. Interesting. It's been a long time since I met such an interesting person. After leaving 100 Flowers Tower, Jian Wushuang and the others returned to the inn where they had stayed. In the room. Senior brother Xiao Heng, I have already checked it out. It's exactly like what Miss Xiao said. There will indeed be a large auction at Qingxiao City in 10 days. It's estimated that more than 90% of the powerhouse in Qingxiao City will gather there, and 100-flower tower will be much more empty and quiet than ever. A core disciple reported after walking in. Just as Miss Xiao said, our best time to act is 10 days later. Xiao Heng clasped his hands tightly. The other core disciples were also beaming in excitement. They had obviously made up their minds to act in 10 days' time. At that moment, Jian Wushuang's voice suddenly rang in their ears. Senior brothers, I have something to say. Jian Wushuang remained humble. He was just an outer disciple, which Xiao Heng and the others thought very little of him. They had never considered and bothered to ask about his opinions. They had never gotten Jian Wushuang's consent over the plan to barge into the 100 Flowers Tower after 10 days. They had completely ignored the presence of Jian Wushuang since a long time ago, so it was normal. After all, in their eyes, Jian Wushuang was merely in the middle stage chaotic realm. He had a good relationship with Elder Wu Jian and was given a chance to participate in the mission. They never thought that he would be able to contribute much, more like someone that would drag their feet. Jian Wushuang, what do you want to say? Xiao Heng gave Jian Wushuang a contemptuous glance with an elevated and haughty posture. Jian Wushuang was not annoyed, but said instead, I would like to advise senior brothers about Miss Xiao. I think it is better to consider the rescue plan again, because Miss Xiao, she is not as innocent and simple as she seems to like. Xiao Heng yelled, nonsense. Of course, Miss Xiao is not someone average. She is one of a kind in this world. I have never seen such a person throughout my years of cultivation journey thus far. Speaking of that, Xiao Heng's gazes became extremely enthusiastic, and so were the 4 disciples next to him. Miss Xiao had completely held them spellbound that all they wanted to do was to bring Miss Xiao out and away from the 100 Flowers Tower. They were fearless, even if their lives were threatened. Moreover, all of them had a trace of desire in them, including Xiao Heng. They longed to possess Miss Xiao. They were willing to give their all and even to go through fire for that. Jian Wushuang, you don't have to take action in the mission 10 days later if you are cowardly and afraid. All you have to do is to help us with the movements lookout around the area from within the 100 Flowers Tower. The 5 of us will handle the rest, said Xiao Heng. Yes, a chaotic realm like you can't help much. Stay in 100 Flowers Tower and keep an eye on the surroundings for us. Don't you drag us down. The other 4 core disciples agreed. Jian Wushuang could only shake his head and helplessly smiled. All right, I've said what should be said and given my advice. If you insist on doing this, I can't stop you, Jian Wushuang murmured lightly. He gave his advice because Xiao Heng and the disciples were pupils from the same master like him, but they never took him seriously and kept looking down at him. So Jian Wushuang did not bother to say any more. Besides, Jian Wushuang didn't think highly of those 5 people and couldn't be bothered about their life and death. Go and get ready. 10 days later, we will leave here for the mission. You are allowed to move around freely during these 10 days, but be mindful not to stir up any trouble, said Xiao Heng. Yes. The core disciples nodded and then they were dismissed. We will only take action 10 days later, so I could go to that place in these 10 idle days. Qingxiao City was one of the 9 cities in Luogu territory, a place where many experts gathered. Not only there were many experts within the mansion of the city's governor, but they were also scattered elsewhere around the city. The magnificent mansion was suspended in the void, towering, grandiose, and daunting. There were only 3 to 4 mansions in the entire Qingxiao City that could float in the void, and all their owners were outstanding figures. Jian Wushuang arrived at the mansion whose owner's name was known only by a single word, Kuan. People addressed him as Master Kuan. He was recognized as the finest craft master in Luogu territory. His refinery skill was ranked at the top 3 even in the entire Wuxia wilderness. Is this the place? Jian Wushuang was dressed in a black robe and he wore a bamboo hat to hide his face while his aura was completely enshrouded. He walked right up to the entrance of the mansion, but he was stopped by someone immediately before he could enter. It was 2 mansion guards who stopped Jian Wushuang. Although they were only guards, their strength and skill had reached the level of a half-step divine demon realm. Merely a guard could achieve the level of half-step divine demon realm. It was not hard to imagine the skill of the experts in the mansion. Stop where you are. The two half-step divine demon realm guards stared hostilely at Jian Wushuang. Please bring a message that Jian Yi would like to see Master Kuan. Jian Wushuang used the pseudonym of the previous sword slave Jian Yi. Jian Yi. The two guards ran the name quickly through their minds, but they had never heard of the name Jian Yi. Your Excellency, I don't know which force or family you belong to. In addition, please show your divine power, so we can bring the message to our master. Both half-step divine demon realm guards could not see through Jian Wushuang's technique, hence they were rather polite at the beginning. I don't belong to any force or family. I am just a lone ranger. As for my divine power, Jian Wushuang did not intend to hide it. He released his middle-stage chaotic realm divine power. And as soon as the guards noticed Jian Wushuang's divine power, their expressions instantly changed. Chapter 2380, A Formal Visit Chaotic Realm? How dare a fellow chaotic realm come to see Master Kuan? The eyes of both half-step divine demon realm guards were ablaze with fury. What a joke, who does he think Master Kuan is? He was the best craft master in Luogu territory. Even a governor of 9 cities was humbled before Master Kuan. Even super experts who lived like mysteries hidden in the darkness and had surpassed the divine demon realm were happy to communicate with Master Kuan on an equal footing. How could anyone meet someone like Master Kuan as they wish? Under normal circumstances, even second-class divine demons or first-class divine demons had to wait a long time to see him. At times, Master Kuan would refuse to meet any of them. That was how second-class and first-class divine demons were treated. How could a chaotic realm come over so bluntly and ask to see Master Kuan? How could he be so confident? Leave. Get out of here or you will be killed. The two guards shouted angrily, and their strong god power was released towards Jian Wushuang. Indeed, Jian Wushuang, who was hiding under the bamboo hat, gave a weird smile. He had guessed that it would not be so easy for him to meet Master Kuan, so he came prepared. At the mansion's entrance, the two half-step divine demon realm guards stood like two mountains, blocking Jian Wushuang's path. They would kill Jian Wushuang without hesitation if he dared to take a step forward. Jian Wushuang slowly stretched out a finger as his figure shook. Before the two half-step divine demon realm could react, Jian Wushuang was already back to his original place and state. Now, can you go and bring my message? Jian Wushuang's faint laughter came from under the bamboo hat. Both half-step divine demon realms were just about to get angry when they felt a tingling sensation on their cheeks. They stretched out their hands to touch their cheeks and felt blood. In an instant, the two half-step divine demon realm guards were terrified and cold sweat was dripping down their bodies. There was a small sword mark on each of their cheeks. The sword pierced through their skin and blood was dripping out from their wound. The crux was that they did not notice when it happened at all. Had Jian Wushuang not been merciful just then, are we dead now? Master, the two half-step divine demon realm guards became respectful towards Jian Wushuang immediately. There was a deep sense of horror in their eyes. Go tell Master Kuan that I would like him to craft something extraordinary. If he refuses to see me, he would miss a big deal, said Jian Wushuang with a smile. Yes, Master. Please wait a moment, I will bring your message immediately. One of the black-armored guards immediately went into the mansion to deliver the message. The other person stood there trembling and did not dare to look straight at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly while standing there quietly and waiting patiently. At the wide hall in the mansion, a bald elder in a black robe sat casually. Next to the bald elder was also a purple-robed middle-aged man. The purple-robed middle-aged man had an extremely powerful aura. He was a first-class divine demon. However, even with his high status, he was somewhat careful with his behavior before the bald elder. Master Kuan was only a second-class divine demon himself, but he had a reputable social status. Hence, first-class divine demons were inferior when facing him. Master Kuan, please help me out with this matter, said the purple-robed middle-aged man with a smile. Mr. Su can rest assured. Since this matter was personally ordered by the governor of 8th Jin City, I'll go all out to work on it. I believe we can see results within 20 years, said the bald elder who was Master Kuan with a smile. Pleased to hear that, Master Kuan. Here's half of the deposit and the remaining half will be paid personally by the governor when it is done. The middle-aged man in purple robe handed over an interspatial ring. Master Kuan took it and simply tapped it as the grin on his face grew wider. Well, Mr. Su. This is the first time we've met each other, let's have a drink today. Master Kuan was chatting happily with the purple-robed middle-aged man when the black-armored half-step divine demon realm guard walked in. Master. The black-armored guard spoke respectfully. What's the matter? Master Kuan looked down. A Lone Ranger expert named Zhen Yi came and asked to see you. He also said that he would like you to craft something extraordinary. If you refuse to see him, you would miss out on a big deal, said the black-armored guard. Zhen Yi. Master Kuan frowned upon hearing the name. He had never come across an expert by the name of Zhen Yi all those years that he lived in Luogu territory. I have never heard of Zhen Yi, not only within Luogu territory but also the entire Wuxia wilderness. It seems like this person never existed. Master, Zhen Yi's cultivation level is only at middle stage chaotic realm. The black-armored guard explained. Chaotic realm? Master Kun's face turned cold suddenly and he scolded, You came all the way to deliver a message for a chaotic realm just because he asked to see me? Do you think I have a lot of free time? The black-armored guard was taken aback at the sudden change of atmosphere, but he continued immediately. Master, I wasn't going to deliver the message at the beginning, but this person is indeed someone unusual. Although he is only a middle-stage chaotic realm, he managed to defeat me and another guard effortlessly. I believe he could have killed me and the other guard had he wanted to, yet we didn't even realize what he did to us. This person is terrorizing. Oh! Master Kun's face changed. The purple-robed middle-aged man also looked surprised. A chaotic realm that defeated or could even kill two half-step divine demon realms in an instant before both two half-step divine demon realms could even respond to the attack. That chaotic realm. Are you sure that he is only a middle-stage chaotic realm? Asked Master Kuan with a frown. I'm sure. His divine power is indeed only at middle-stage chaotic realm, and he had never shown a power stronger than that since the beginning, but his swordsmanship and his command of laws were exceptional. It was a skill beyond the chaotic realm and even surpassed the divine demon realm. Therefore, I don't think that he is someone ordinary, so I came in and told you, answered the black-armored guard solemnly. Is that so? Master Kuan slightly nodded as his anger disappeared. Master Kuan, if this guard is telling the truth, I am 80% certain that person out there must be a top genius. Although he claims to be a Lone Ranger, he may be a super genius from some top sects or he could have an old monster master. It's worth meeting a person like him, said the purple-robed middle-aged man. Master Kuan nodded as he thought so too. Go and get him. Chapter 2381, 4th Grade Craft Master. Soon, Zhen Wushuang led by the black-armored guard came before Master Kuan and the purple-robed middle-aged man. Zhen Yi is pleased to meet Master Kuan. I've heard of Master Kun's name for a long time. Zhen Wushuang gave a slight bow and spoke politely. In fact, he had only heard of Master Kuan after he arrived at Qingxiao City. You're so humble. Please have a seat. Master Kuan waved his hand. Zhen Wushuang sat down on a chair nearby. Both Master Kuan and the purple-robed middle-aged man had noticed Zhen Wushuang's true cultivation the moment he stepped into the hall. Zhen Wushuang's swordsmanship was indeed outstanding, but his realm was too weak. He could disguise himself well before a half-step divine demon realm, but he fell short before a real full-fledged divine demon realm, especially someone at a second-class divine demon realm. They could see clearly that Zhen Wushuang indeed only possessed the cultivation level of middle-stage chaotic realm. Can a middle-stage chaotic realm really kill a half-step divine demon realm? Both Master Kuan and the middle-aged man were thinking in their heads. I've never heard of your name. Who is your master? Asked Master Kuan. Neither do I belong to any school nor any master, answered Zhen Wushuang with a smile. He then stood up and said, Master Kuan, truth to be told, I am here to ask for Master Kun's help in crafting a piece of treasure. Master Kuan exchanged looks with the purple-robed middle-aged man before asking, What treasure is it? It's a life armor, Master Kuan should know about it, said Zhen Wushuang. Both Master Kuan and the purple-robed middle-aged man were instantly moved when they heard of the life armor. It was a piece of treasure that represented a cultivator's life and effort. It could also grow together with the cultivator, unleashing his unlimited potentials. It required a large number of precious treasures and an exceptional craft master to make it. Wuxia Wilderness was just an unremarkable small place within the ancient god domain. It was an arduous task to craft a life armor here. Therefore, Master Kuan was startled after knowing that Jian Wushuang was going to craft a life armor. I see. Do you want to craft the life armor for yourself or? Master Kuan was curious. I want it for myself, Jian Wushuang replied straightforwardly. He was telling the truth. Among the 5 most powerful secret skills of the 7-star Black Sect, the 9 Sparkle Star Armor was an extremely powerful secret skill. Unfortunately, to cultivate this secret skill, one would need a life armor of his own. That was why Jian Wushuang was unable to get started with the secret skill until then. Back then in Anzhou Commandery, it was almost impossible for him to craft his life armor due to the limited resources available. After arriving at Narcissus Island, he took the opportunity to ask Elder Wujian if craft masters in Narcissus Island had the ability to craft a life armor, but he was again disappointed. He could only continue looking for other opportunities. In Qingxiao City within Luogu territory, he came to visit Master Kuan right after hearing about his name. Do you know how hard it is to craft a life armor? Master Kuan looked at Jian Wushuang. To craft a life armor, it does not only require a lot of rare and precious treasures. It also needs a cultivator's strong essence and blood, and an exceptional craft master. These 3 are indispensable. I know. Jian Wushuang nodded his head. His expression was unperturbed. That is exactly why I come to you, Master Kuan, today. I don't know if you have the ability to craft a life armor. Do you? Master Kuan frowned. He pondered for a moment before saying, My little friend, truth to be told, you will need a minimum of a 4th-grade craft master to craft a life armor. Such a highly skilled craft master might be common in the entire ancient god domain, however, I believe there are not more than 3 in Wuxia Wilderness. Someone such as this is definitely a rare existence. There were a total of 9 grades of craft master in the ancient god domain, yet a 4th-grade craft master was scarce in Wuxia Wilderness. My friend, Jian Yi, there are indeed no more than 3 craft masters who have reached the 4th grade in the entire Wuxia Wilderness, but Master Kuan, who is standing in front of you now, happens to be one of them, said the purple-robed middle-aged man suddenly. Master Kuan also gave a confident smile. In that case, Master Kuan, will you craft this life armor? Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. He was there to try his luck because he knew very well that it was an uphill task. Fortunately, he did not make the trip in vain. Although I have not been at the 4th grade for long, I am indeed a 4th-grade craft master. I have never tried making the life armor, so there is a high possibility to fail on the very first try. If you would like me to make the life armor, I am afraid that you will need to prepare more materials for me to work with, said Master Kuan. I understand. What are the treasures needed for making a life armor? Asked Jian Wushuang. Master Kuan thought in silence momentarily before speaking slowly. For portions of red sun secret essences, 5 red blood fruits, 2 drops of purple shimmer, 100 pieces of spectacular beast scales, and finally 10,000 catties of celestial iron ore. Collect all these materials, and if your own essence and blood can meet the requirements, I promise to craft a life armor for you. Jian Wushuang was indifferent even after hearing what Master Kuan said, but the purple-robed middle-aged man was completely astounded. He was shocked to hear the long list of materials listed down by Master Kuan. Red sun secret essence, red blood fruit, purple shimmer, spectacular beast scales are all extremely rare treasures in Wuxia Wilderness, especially purple shimmer. There are perhaps only a total of 5 drops to be found in the entire Wuxia Wilderness, yet 3 drops were needed to make the life armor. As for celestial iron ore, some ordinary sects will keep some in storage. It was nothing too precious, but to gather 10,000 catties was unheard of. Even if top sects such as the Great Compassionate Sect tried to collect it, they might need a long time to gather up to 10,000 catties. Is that all? Jian Wushuang raised his head and glanced at Master Kuan. These are the only items needed, But these items are not easy to find. Well, it is difficult to find them in Wuxia wilderness, my friend. Master Kuan had not finished his sentence when he was disrupted. This is my message token. I will send you all the materials within 3 years. I will also prepare a generous gift for you as a reward, and I hope that I will have a life armor of my own. Jian Wushuang handed his message token to Master Kuan. Then, he took a deep gaze at Master Kuan before he turned and left. Chapter 2382. Got it. After Jian Wushuang left, Master Kuan and the purple-robed middle-aged man in the hall had a strange look on their faces. Master Kuan, do you think the young man was teasing you? Asked the purple-robed middle-aged man curiously. Any single item on the long list of precious treasures mentioned by Master Kuan was enough to cause an uproar within the Wuxia wilderness, but when Jian Wushuang heard about them, he remained a straight face as if they were nothing special. Master Kuan shook his head. No. Someone from the middle stage chaotic realm wouldn't have the courage to tease me like that. Even if he dared to do so, I would be able to discover his flaws. I've lived for so many years and dare say that I'm rather accurate in judging someone. Despite his young age, the man gave me an ambiguous feeling when he stood before me just now. It was impossible for me to read him. Moreover, he was too calm just now, or I should say he was overconfident. That kind of confidence made me believe that it's possible for him to bring me those precious treasures within 3 years. Then again, those items are extremely rare. It might be possible to gather 1 or 2 of them. However, to collect all of them in such huge quantities, the purple-robed middle-aged man frowned. I don't have to worry about that. If he could bring me all those precious treasures, it'll help him make his life armor. I've nothing to lose if he fails. Master Kuan smiled. That's true. The purple-robed middle-aged man understood it. Jian Wushuang's heart was heavy after leaving Master Kun's mansion. Red sun secret essence, red bloodfruit, purple shimmer, spectacular beast scales, and celestial iron ore. Among all these items, I've only heard of the celestial iron ore, which is something extremely valuable. I can see from the expressions of the purple-robed middle-aged man that the other 4 items are also a rare find. I am afraid that it will not be easy for me to get all these items. Jian Wushuang mumbled under his breath. He knew very well that the life armor was not something easy to make. In his Eternal Chaotic World's previous life, Emperor Bai was able to make a life armor because the Eternal Chaotic World had many valuables that were left behind since the ancient times. Many precious treasures could be found from the ancient battlefields, so it was possible for Emperor Bai to gather those treasures. As for the craft master, Jian Wushuang was guessing that Emperor Bai might have asked Master Xuani to do it. Nonetheless, it was really difficult to find those treasures in Wuxia wilderness. Not to worry. I might not be able to find them now, but as long as my power is restored to its peak, I could do as I wish in Wuxia wilderness. It should be a lot easier to find those treasures at that time, Jian Wushuang murmured. The reason he told Master Kuan that he would bring those treasures in 3 years' time was that he knew that his power would be restored to its peak after 3 years. Once his power was restored, and if he could not get his hands on those treasures, he would leave Wuxia wilderness, never having to deal with Master Kuan ever again. Once I have the life armor, I can cultivate the 9 sparkle star armor. At that time, my power will level up. Unfortunately, I'll have to wait. After that day, Jian Wushuang spent his time in the inn where he lived. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. Soon, it was the day when the large auction in Qingxiao City was held. Countless experts in Qingxiao City had made their ways to the auction. As for the 100-flower tower, it was a little deserted as compared to its merry atmosphere on usual days. Xiao Heng and his people were ready to carry out their plan. Suspended in the void outside 100-flower tower, Xiao Heng and his people, including Jian Wushuang, carefully converged their auras. According to what is expected, the 100 Flowers Tower is weakly guarded today. The second-class divine demons who usually guard 100 Flowers Tower have gone to the auction. Miss Xiao had lured the first-class divine demon that was hidden in 100 Flowers Tower away. In other words, 100 Flowers Tower was left with only some ordinary third-class divine demons and chaotic realms. Xiao Heng stared at the 100 Flowers Tower in the distance, and his eyes could not contain his excitement. I suppose Miss Xiao is ready for us now. Let's do this. Xiao Heng reached an agreement with the 4 core disciples. Xiao Heng turned to look at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, your task is to stay here and be on the lookout for us. If something happens or some experts come our way, you will have to alert me immediately. Understood. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. Xiao Heng and the disciples thought very little of him, hence only made him a watchman, which so happened that he was not keen to participate in their activities. Let's go. Xiao Heng waved his hand and the 5 core disciples from Narcissus Island advanced towards 100 Flowers Tower, whereas Jian Wushuang stood in the void quietly watching. He shook his head when he saw that Xiao Heng and others cautiously snuck into 100 Flowers Tower. These core disciples of Narcissus Island are still too young after all. How can this task be as simple as they thought? Although he was cognizant, he chose not to say much and just do what he was told. It did not take long for 100 Flowers Tower to be in a ruckus, and at the same time a surge of divine power effluxed from within. It seems like the fight has begun. Jian Wushuang was watching with interest. There were constant roars and tumultuous coming from the 100 Flowers Tower. Although the tower was left with no first-class and second-class divine demons, it never lacked ordinary third-class divine demons which were enough to bring great resistance against Xiao Heng and his people. Besides that, experts that scattered all over Qingxiao City would soon be aware of the scuffle in 100 Flowers Tower and made their way back to the tower, hence Xiao Heng and the other disciples were left with a short window of time to act. However simple-minded Xiao Heng and the other disciples were, they were competent core disciples of Narcissus Island and were skillful in combat despite being only in third-class divine demons. They were top-tier third-class divine demons, especially Xiao Heng. When Xiao Heng went all out with his powers, he was comparable to an ordinary second-class divine demons. Not long after, the 5 of them work hand in hand. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The 5 figures came dashing out from 100 Flowers Tower and frantically headed towards the outer city. Jian Wushuang, hurry up. Xiao Heng sent a message to Jian Wushuang. Looks like Thief made it. Not too bad after all. Jian Wushuang grinned while his figure floated away to the outer city. Shortly after Xiao Heng and others left 100 Flowers Tower, a large group of figures emerged behind them from the tower. How dare these people abduct someone from my 100 Flowers Tower? Go after and kill them all. Be careful. Miss Xiao is still in their hands. A swarm of figures frantically went after Xiao Heng and the others. Chapter 2383, Mu Clan. It was late at night, the moonlight dimmed. In a jungle far away from Qingxiao City, Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples of Narcissus Island sat on the ground, convalescing their divine power after the fight. They all looked tired. It was nothing to break into 100 Flowers Tower, fight against the experts, and save Miss Xiao, then escaping from the tower. However, they were chased after by a huge group of pursuant who wanted their lives. They fled from Qingxiao City all the way to where they were while having gone through several obstacles and hard battles along the way. They even fought against second-class divine demons, but fortunately, they managed to escape. Finally, we have dumped those people. There was a glimmer of hope on Xiao Heng's face as he instinctively darted a look at the veiled woman beside him. Miss Xiao was wearing an ordinary tight-fitting robe that accentuated her perfect figure. The moonlight created a mysterious effect on her which made her appear even more attractive. She stood there quietly, not saying a word. Xiao Heng involuntarily swallowed a gulp of saliva and at the same time was relieved. Although they encountered a lot of troubles today, they succeeded in rescuing the beauty. Suddenly, a slight cracking sound emerged. Who was that? All 5 of the Xiao Heng's party abruptly stood up in vigilance. Brothers, it's me. Jian Wushuang's figure appeared in front of the 5 along with his laughter. Jian Wushuang? Xiao Heng glanced over at Jian Wushuang. Back at Qingxiao City, the 5 of them took Miss Xiao and fled the scene. They had sent a message to Jian Wushuang and told him to leave quickly, but did not travel together. Little had they expected that Jian Wushuang would catch up with them. Miss Xiao. Jian Wushuang peeked at Miss Xiao. That is very polite of you. Miss Xiao was being lovely as usual. Well, now that we have rescued Miss Xiao and escaped from the charging parties, let us all get some rest and recuperate before returning to Narcissus Island, said Xiao Heng. The 4 core disciples became relaxed. However, Jian Wushuang shook his head in disagreement. Brothers, I'm afraid that things aren't as simple as what you think. What do you mean? Xiao Heng questioned in a deep voice that was seemingly unhappy. Don't you think that things were progressing too smoothly? Asked Jian Wushuang while still smiling. Xiao Heng sneered. Too smooth? You weren't with us and had no idea how dangerous the situations were just then. Of course, you thought that it went on smoothly. That's right. It was easy for you to say. If you were with us just now, I'm afraid you would have died. A core disciple next to him jeered. Jian Wushuang raised his brows. In fact, he was close behind Xiao Heng and the others and saw what they had been through. They were in a fair bit of trouble, but it was a far cry from real danger as things were going rather smoothly. Then again, he had done his part to remind them. He could not be bothered if Xiao Heng and the rest took his words lightly. Someone is coming, Jian Wushuang suddenly announced. Huh! Xiao Heng and the others were on their toes. At the same time, their soul powers had allowed them to sense the massive aura appearing in the void near them. There are a lot of people and they are here for us. Xiao Heng's expression changed almost instantly. Just as he wanted to retreat, the opponents were already moving at top speeds and appeared in front of them in the blink of an eye. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. There were more than a dozen figures appeared before them. Those people's auras and powers were intimidating. Among the dozen people, there were powerhouses beyond the divine demon realm, with 4 being second-class divine demons. Damn it. We're in deep *T. How could this be? Haven't we dumped those pursuing troops from 100 Flowers Tower? Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples' faces became extremely ugly. The 5 of them were powerful nonetheless, but they had no chance against the strong lineup of 4 second-class divine demons and a dozen of third-class divine demons. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes as he studied the group of experts surrounding them. These people are not from the 100 Flowers Tower. Jian Wushuang was tailing the Xiao Heng's group. He knew for sure that they had escaped the pursuing troops from 100 Flowers Tower. The ones that appeared before them. Fellow friends from Narcissus Island, don't worry. We're from the Mu clan. A clear and crisp voice came from the mouth of a second-class divine demon. He was an elder with white hair. The old man had a dulled look with seemingly cloudy eyes and a gentle smile. Mu clan. Xiao Heng was relieved and was soon overcome with joy. We came with orders from the Mu clan head to bring the second miss home. This is a token from the Mu clan. You can have a look at it. The white-haired old man threw a token toward their direction. Xiao Heng took it and examined it carefully before nodding. It's indeed a token from the Mu clan. Why do you need Narcissus Island to carry out the rescue mission if the Mu clan had sent such a strong party over? I'm unable to explain the reasons to you. In short, now that we are here, we'll be responsible for the safety of the second miss. All of you can return to Narcissus Island, said the white-haired old man. Xiao Heng and the other core disciples exchanged looks of hesitation. If they had rescued an ordinary person, they would happily hand that person to the Mu clan and return to Narcissus Island. However, the one that they had just rescued was none other than the beautiful Miss Xiao, who had completely captured the hearts of Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples. The group of 5 were reluctant to leave Miss Xiao. Your Excellency, how about this? Let us join your group to the Mu's residence. My brothers and I'll leave as soon as we see that Miss Xiao had safely stepped into the Mu's residence. Xiao Heng suggested. That might not be feasible. I think you should just return to Narcissus Island. The white-haired old man kept a smile on his face. Xiao Heng could sense that something was wrong. Not only did those people from the Mu clan appear strangely out of nowhere, they even insisted on escorting Miss Xiao and refused the company of Xiao Heng's group, hence raising his suspicions. You are not from the Mu clan, Xiao Heng roared. The 4 core disciples immediately took out their weapons and stood ready. Jian Wushuang shook his head when he heard Xiao Heng. I think you are wrong. These people are indeed from the Mu clan. However, if I'm not wrong, they aren't here to bring Miss Xiao home. Instead, They are here to make sure Miss Xiao will never return to the Muse residence. What? Xiao Heng's face changed. Are they here to kill Miss Xiao? Jian Wushuang glanced at Miss Xiao, who was next to him, and was certain that he got it right when he noticed the chilliness in her eyes. Chapter 2384. Huge changes. How could this be right? Isn't Miss Xiao the second miss of the Mu clan? Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples were in disbelief. This world isn't as simple as you think. Jian Wushuang chuckled. He had lived for nearly 100,000 years in his previous life and had been through the thick and thin of life. He had experienced all kinds of conspiracies, overt and covert fights. He was not surprised to see what was going on with the Mu clan. The space-time is sealed. It seems that you came well prepared. Jian Wushuang's eyes narrowed. The space-time was sealed. Xiao Heng and other disciples were shocked. They took out their message tokens immediately to transmit a message to their high-ups in Narcissus Island and realized their message could not be sent out. The space-time was sealed. In his previous life, eternal chaotic world space-time was so weak that some chaotic realms could easily seal time-space. The same could not be said in ancient god domain. Under the Heavenway's will, space-time was strictly controlled. One must either be an expert of space-time law or apply a formation skill to seal space-time. The Mu clan was obviously using the latter, which was the power of a formation skill. What a pity. If you make a move just now, there would not be any trouble at all. However, you've made the wrong decision and chose to remain here. The gentle smile on the white-haired old man's face had completely receded and was replaced by endless iciness. Initially, we thought of merely using the forces of Narcissus Island to our advantage. We had never planned to go against you people, but things have changed now. The white-haired old man was murmuring to himself. Even a stupid person would have known their intentions by now. So, the Mu clan was merely using Narcissus Island to save Miss Xiao? Your real intention is to put her to death. Xiao Heng's voice was cold. The white-haired old man snorted coldly. A lowly servant gave birth to her. How dare she think she could have a place in the Mu clan? Dream on. She should have died more than 10 years ago. For some reason, she was lucky. The people in the 100 Flowers Tower didn't kill her. Instead, they kept her and she gradually rose to fame. It wasn't until recently that the Mu clan learned that she is still alive. Since we have received such news, we have to find a way to completely wipe her out. After all, she is the second miss of the Mu clan and we can't overtly get rid of her. We had to pretend to want to rescue her and get help from Narcissus Island. She only has one final ending, which is of course death. It's just a pity that you, fellow core disciples from Narcissus Island, are going with her. Xiao Heng and his group of people were furious to hear about that. They had finally understood the conspiracies. The Mu clan never intended to rescue the second miss. They wanted to secretly get rid of her. The rescue mission was just a facade. Miss Xiao, don't worry. We will not allow the Mu clan to hurt you one bit. Xiao Heng placed himself in front of Miss Xiao with his face flushed in anger. The 4 core disciples followed suit. You're looking for trouble. The white-haired old man smiled wryly. He ordered as he waved his hand. Kill them. Boom. A dozen tyrannical auras simultaneously erupted. Besides the white-haired old man, the rest of the dozen experts from Mu clan had started fighting. A gush of divine power oppressed Xiao Heng and his people, rendering them unable to catch a breath. Protect Miss Xiao. Xiao Heng roared. His strength and power completely exploded and he immediately wielded it against the Mu clan's expert in front of him. The 4 core disciples had also gone crazy. With space-time being sealed, their messages could not be transmitted at all, hence it was almost impossible to escape. They could only fight with all their might for a survival chance. Go. Gol. Go. Even if I had to die, I won't let you hurt Miss Xiao. Xiao Heng and the other disciples were completely crazy and desperate. Brothers, take the GU blood elixir. Xiao Heng yelled while being engrossed in the fight before a pill appeared in his hand and he swallowed it. The 4 core disciples looked determined. They also took out the same pill and swallowed it. The Jiu blood elixir was a kind of pill that could boost one's divine power in a short period of time. The downside was that it carried a severe side effect. As soon as the pill's effect wore out, one would fall into a period of weakness and needed a month or two to recuperate. The pill was given to the core disciples of Narcissus Island to save their lives. Each core disciple was given one such pill and they could use it at a critical juncture. The group of 5 had taken the Jiu blood elixir. Even though they were only third-class divine demons, their combat power became terrifying as the elixir's effect kicked in. The 4 core disciples almost reached the level of second-class divine demons. The strongest of them, Xiao Heng, had spectacular swordsmanship. With the elixir's help, he was at an advantage even when fighting single-handedly against 2 second-class divine demons. The other 4 core disciples also used various skills to set up obstacles for the Mu clan's expert, stopping them from approaching. Jian Wushuang, take Miss Xiao away while we fight these Mu clan's expert. Xiao Heng barked out the order. He had no other choice but to place his hope on Jian Wushuang. After all, he and the 4 core disciples had given their best to parry off the attacks from Mu clan's experts. Only Jian Wushuang was able to freely move around and was the only hope in taking Miss Xiao away. Jian Wushuang, take Miss Xiao away now. The 4 core disciples were also screaming on top of their lungs. Hearing those distraught voices, Jian Wushuang shook his head but did not move at all. How stupid. This woman has bewitched them such that they are willing to sacrifice everything for her, even their own lives. Is it really worth it? Jian Wushuang sneered as he peered at Miss Xiao who was next to him. Miss Xiao was still covered with a veil, but she was shaking in fear. She looked all frightened and in trepidation, causing many to want to protect her at the sight of her fearfulness. Miss Xiao, what do you think after seeing all my senior brothers who had fallen head over heels for you to the point of will to sacrifice their lives to protect you? Asked Jian Wushuang with a smile. Master, what do you mean? Miss Xiao met his gaze with a hint of mockery in her eyes. It was a different emotion from the fear she displayed a while ago. Chapter 2385, Have Mercy. The battle persisted with incredible intensity. Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples were in a craze, trying all they could to keep away Mu clan's experts. They did their best to buy time for Jian Wushuang and Miss Xiao. However, neither Jian Wushuang nor Miss Xiao made a move under such a situation. In fact, they were still interacting casually. Miss Xiao, you should be able to tell by now that Narcissus Island has no special relationship with Mu clan. It was purely Mu Chan's plan to use us. Now, they even want to make all of us stay, said Jian Wushuang. Young master, what exactly are you trying to say? Said Miss Xiao calmly. What I want to say is that Narcissus Island and Mu clan have nothing to do with each other, so I beg you to have mercy later, said Jian Wushuang, having a deeper meaning behind his words. Miss Xiao's beautiful eyes were shining with surprise after hearing his words. Miss Xiao said slowly only after a while, for me to show mercy isn't out of the question, but he'll have to see if you're worthy. What would you like to have in return? Asked Jian Wushuang calmly. These Mu clan members really annoy me, said Miss Xiao with sheer lightness. Understood, Miss Xiao. Just watch, said Jian Wushuang. They did not hide their conversation, since even if people heard them, nobody would understand what they talked about. However, Xiao Heng and his company were already furious. Jian Wushuang, what the hell are you waiting for? Move it. Those words came from Xiao Heng as a roar. He and the 4 core disciples took Jiu blood elixir, but the efficacy would not last long. They were thinking of trying their best to buy some time for Jian Wushuang and Miss Xiao, but not only had Jian Wushuang not made a move, he even started casually chatting with her. They were naturally furious about that, so mad that they felt like vomiting blood. However, right at that moment, Jian Wushuang slowly turned around and took a glance at those Mu clan experts. Blood Mountain's sword had already appeared in his hand with a flip of his wrist. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang moved. He moved in a flash like a phantom, almost like a wind blowing by, not leaving a trace in the void. Xiao Heng and his company were staring at Jian Wushuang and Miss Xiao, thus naturally saw that. That speed, Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples were all stunned. Too fast, that speed was way too fast. It was unimaginable. Was a speed like that initiated by Jian Wushuang, whom they scorned? How was that possible? Before they could react, ripples formed in the void with a deep ringing sound. Coming directly after that was the shadow of a sword. It seemed regular and calm, almost strengthless. However, it was that sword shadow which attracted everyone in the battlefield as soon as it appeared, including the white-haired old man and Miss Xiao. Everybody stared straight at the sword shadow. It was too beautiful. So beautiful it was intoxicating. Whoosh! The sword shadow slashed across the void, only gradually dissolving after a while. When it landed on the ground, a figure appeared with it. That figure was Jian Wushuang. It's him. That kid, what's he doing? The sword shadow just now was his doing. Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples were quite dumbfounded, unable to snap out of it. The faces of Mu Clan's experts were showing amazement too. That one move from Jian Wushuang was truly beautiful and magnificent. It was hard to imagine someone in the chaotic realm performed such a move. However, what was the use if the swordplay was merely visually beautiful? Just as everyone was wondering. Chop, 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 chop. A total of 6 heads flew. Their owners were none other than the 6 divine demon experts of Mu Clan. Although their heads flew off, their eyes were still puzzled by the sight they witnessed. While their consciousness was fading, up to the moment they died, they still could not figure out how it all happened. At the same time, the frozen headless torsos directly fell downwards. The surroundings became silent at that moment. Both parties which were fighting just moments ago collectively stopped battling, and multiple pairs of stunned eyes looked over at Jian Wushuang. This, Xiao Heng's lips trembled when he spoke. The other 4 core disciples were also dumbfounded. Just one strike. It was just one perfectly gorgeous and magnificent strike. They thought it was only visually stunning, but the result was the fall of 6 divine demons from Mu Clan. How is this possible? A scream finally exploded. Not only the experts of Mu Clan but Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples were also completely blown away. Jian Wushuang was only a middle-stage chaotic realm and outer disciple of Narcissus Island. Just because of his special relationship with Elder Wujian was just slightly special that none in Xiao Heng's group thought much about him. In the current mission, Jian Wushuang had expressed his slightly different views and opinions, but nobody ever paid any attention to what he said. They made decisions on their own without running them by Jian Wushuang because, in their minds, he was a good-for-nothing. However, Jian Wushuang then made his move. With just one strike of his sword, he slaughtered 6 third-class divine demons. What level of ability was that? Not bad. Miss Xiao, who was standing in the middle of the battlefield while being protected by Xiao Heng and his men in a circle, had her eyes shining in amazement. After killing 6 third-class divine demons with Cutting Snow's first form, Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up as his figure moved, showing his insights toward spacetime lore. 2 spacetime shadows appeared in the void, made a weird jump, and Jian Wushuang was already next to the 2nd-class divine demon of Mu Clan. This speed. No. The 2nd-class divine demon of Mu Clan was startled but immediately adjusted himself. 2nd-class divine demon isn't as easy to kill as 1st-class. Jian Wushuang smiled in his mind. However, the stellar strength that had already merged into his entire body rose in a split second. 7 stars secret skills scroll 1, activate. Ring. Blood Mountain sword stabbed forward. It was a straightforward strike, but carrying tremendous samsara strength. This form was called Samsara Empty Strike. The sword shadow was blurry and stabbed directly at the 2nd-class divine demon right in front of him. Chapter 2386. Kill them all. The 2nd-class divine demon, who held a large hammer, immediately counterattacked with a backhand. Seeing the hammer almost hitting the sword shadow, the 2nd-class divine demon's expression suddenly froze. How is that possible? I clearly blocked him. With a face full of puzzlement, his eyes grew dimmer. A 2nd-class divine demon was killed with one strike as well. Continue. Jian Wushuang smiled plainly and continued attacking the Mu Clan experts around him. His frightening sword skills and speed were in full bloom. No. Watch out. Watch his sword. The Mu clan experts all looked fearful, even for second-class divine demons. Jian Wushuang's sword skills were too terrifying. The white-haired old man who was standing nearby could no longer stay still. "Stop, kid!" he roared as his energy expanded and white hair was blown mid-air. The white-haired old man was also a second-class divine demon, but the energy projected from his body was more powerful than the rest. He was probably at the peak of second-class divine demon, only a short step away from first-class divine demon. Under the explosion of his energy, he dashed at Jian Wushuang like a giant prehistoric creature. "This guy's pretty strong." Jian Wushuang took one glance at the white-haired old man. A surging divine power started to concentrate behind his body in the next moment. In the blink of an eye, a 300-meter divine god's shadow formed out of thin air. The first of 7-star Black Sect's 5 secret skills, Divine God of Punishment, had been displayed. The 7-star secret skill Divine God of Punishment had been fully activated and Jian Wushuang attacked using his maximum strength. "Die, kid!" Like an infuriated lion, the white-haired old man looked absolutely ferocious with his pair of fiery red fighting gloves appearing as if his hands were burning. "I'm afraid you would be the one to die." Jian Wushuang sneered and with a few dashes, suddenly appeared in front of the old man. They immediately made their moves at the same time. Jian Wushuang was holding the Blood Mountain sword engulfed in formless sword intent while using the Xian Luo sword principle. The white-haired old man was extremely vicious with his pair of huge fists smashing down. Bam! 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 Continuous collision sounds bursting out with divine power sweeping outwards with every hit. Both of them had used their maximum strength. In the blink of an eye, they had already clashed head-to-head more than 10 times. Finally, there was a snapping noise. Unable to withstand the impacts, the white-haired old man's fiery red fighting gloves exploded after clashing with Blood Mountain sword over and over again. "What?" The old man was stunned. However, Jian Wushuang did not give him any room to breathe. A blurry sword shadow swept outwards, forming ripples within the void wherever it passed by. The whole environment froze. The white-haired old man seemed lost, while the blurry sword shadow had already sliced through his throat. A large head flew off. First-class divine demon strength. The white-haired old man still could not believe it before he died. It was true that a few months before, when he was in Anzhou Commandery, Jian Wushuang was still merely at the early stage chaotic realm. However, when he gave his all, his battle strength had already reached the level of second-class divine demon and even the top among its kind. At that time, he confronted Xiong Yi and Chen Yuan, 2 powerful second-class divine demon, and came to a tie. He even had a slight advantage. Now that a few months had passed, he had been promoted from early stage to middle stage chaotic realm. His lore insights and understanding of the sword had also improved a bit. His battle strength was much stronger than before. He truly possessed the battle strength of a first-class divine demon. Hence, he was able to slaughter those third-class divine demons and killed a second-class divine demon with one strike using his own sword form. Even when fighting the white-haired old man, as soon as they fought head-to-head, Jian Wushuang could still cut him down with his sword form. When the old man died, the rest of the Mu clan experts were shaken to the core. "Run. Let's get out of here. Even Elder Mu Qiu was so easily killed by him and looks like none of us are capable of confronting him. Let's run." The experts from Mu clan started to disperse in a frenzy. However, although they wanted to escape, Jian Wushuang did not let them. All of these people should just die. Jian Wushuang's intention to kill was surging. He had not much enmity towards Mu clan, hence from a personal standpoint, there was no need to kill all the Mu clan experts. However, the situation did not allow him to have mercy because Miss Xiao wanted these Mu clan men to die. Swoop. Jian Wushuang's insight on spacetime lore had completely exploded. Spacetime shadows kept flashing in the void as his speed had gone up to an extreme as well. Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples from Narcissus Island were at a loss standing there. They could see Jian Wushuang's figure in the void flashing, shifting, and appearing non-stop. Every time he appeared, he was at a different place followed by his sword striking down. Every strike guaranteed the death of a Mu clan expert. There were 2 second-class and 8 third-class divine demons from Mu clan left. However, they were no different from ants in Jian Wushuang's hands. After a stream of continuous flashes, within 2 breaths' time, Jian Wushuang finally stopped. At that moment, what Xiao Heng and the rest could see were corpses all over the ground with blood splattered everywhere. Mu clan's experts had all turned into lifeless bodies, laying on the ground, while Jian Wushuang was standing tall without a scratch. Dead. Mu clan's experts are all dead. Xiao Heng and the core disciples exclaimed before become completely speechless. Their eyes were locked on Jian Wushuang with an indescribable shock in it. It was like looking at death himself, who slaughtered second-class and third-class divine demons like farm animals. They wondered if he was really the same person who came to carry out the mission with them. The one that they did not particularly care for and was merely an outer disciple on Narcissus Island, Jian Wushuang? Was he really only at Chaotic Realm? Jian Wushuang, Xiao Heng trembled. He wanted to say something but paused when the words were on the tip of his tongue. He simply did not know what he should be saying. However, Jian Wushuang did not pay attention to him either. After slaughtering the Mu clan experts, he shifted his figure and went back to Miss Xiao. Miss Xiao, I'm wondering if you're satisfied with the sight before you? Jian Wushuang smiles. Not too shabby. Miss Xiao nodded slightly while looking at Jian Wushuang strangely. I've cleaned up those people from Mu clan, but I can't do anything about the few left, said Jian Wushuang. Chapter 2387. By Tao of 9 Stars Palace, I have cleaned up the people from Mu clan, but I can't do anything about the few left. Jian Wushuang clearly sounded a little helpless. As for Xiao Heng and the core disciples, they were simply lost. They had no idea what Jian Wushuang and Miss Xiao were talking about. Jian Wushuang asked Miss Xiao if she was satisfied. Why ask such a question? And what about the few left that Jian Wushuang mentioned? Who else was there at that moment other than them? Just as Xiao Heng and his group were puzzled. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 figures suddenly appeared next to them without any premonition. They were 2 men and a woman. The leader was a handsome young man with black hair. This is, Xiao Heng and his group looked over. Their faces changed as soon as they saw them. Although there were only 3 of them, the divine power they emitted was so strong and overpowering. Apparently, they were the 3 big first-class divine demons. The black-haired young man who was leading them stood there like a big mountain. His overpowering energy made Xiao Heng and the core disciples struggle to breathe. This is, Xiao Heng stared at the black-haired young man and a name came to mind. Bai Dao. This is Bai Dao of 9 Stars Palace. Even Xiao Heng's voice slightly trembled. Bai Dao of 9 Stars Palace? The 4 core disciples paused for a second and then their faces changed. 12 minor kings. He is one of the 12 minor kings, Bai Dao. The Wuxia wilderness was not quite comparable to the ancient god domain, but there were quite a number of prodigies. The widely renowned top prodigies in Wuxia wilderness were none other than the 12 minor kings. The 12 minor kings were all incredibly talented. Some were from powerful sects, some from certain clans, and there were 2 lone wolves. Bai Dao was one of them. Although he was in the lower ranks of the 12, merely placed 11th, he was still an extraordinary prodigy. Xiao Heng knew that he was quite talented himself, but if he were to be compared to Bai Tai, he was nothing. What's happening? Why is Bai Dao of the 12 minor kings showing up here? And it seems like Jian Wushuang had already known of their presence before this. Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples were filled with questions. Following the appearance of the 3 first-class divine demons, the atmosphere had changed into a delicate one. The black-haired young man, Bai Dao, had a pair of dark eyes like black diamonds and was full of energy. At that moment, he was staring straight at Jian Wushuang. A mere middle-stage chaotic realm could match his battle strength with first-class divine demon. In addition, his senses were so sharp that though we hid extremely well, he could still detect us. The 3 of them had noticed Miss Xiao long ago. Since Xiao Heng and his company brought Miss Xiao out of Qingxiao City, they were just following them from behind and never showed themselves. What just happened there was clearly witnessed by them. They definitely saw Zhen Wushuang defeating the Mu clan experts like tearing down rotten trees with his middle-stage chaotic realm abilities. The abilities that Zhen Wushuang had shown, which does not correspond with the realm he was in, even surprised prodigies such as Bai Dao. When Bai Dao himself was in the middle-stage chaotic realm, the most he could do was to defeat a peak-stage chaotic realm. However, Zhen Wushuang was apparently way stronger than him. What kind of monster is this? Why haven't I heard of him? Bai Dao mumbled to himself. Seeing the three's appearance, Zhen Wushuang gave a mild smile and stepped to the side. He was only helping Miss Xiao clean up the Mu clan experts. As for Bai Dao and his companions, he had no obligations to deal with them. Miss Xiao, it's up to you now. Zhen Wushuang intriguingly looked at Miss Xiao. Miss Xiao came off as incredibly dangerous and enigmatic to him. Now that the three big first-class divine demons were there, he could take this opportunity to see what her real capabilities were. Miss Xiao took a glance at Zhen Wushuang without saying a word, then leisurely gazed over at Bai Dao and his companions. Sir, may I ask, what is the reason for you to be here? Miss Xiao maintained a very attractive look. Her every move was unforgettable. Xiao Heng and his companions fluttered inside, their eyes still betrayed their craze. You lowly maid, don't use your tricks on me. I'm only here today to ask you a question. Bai Dao started at Miss Xiao as her seductive qualities had no effect on him. Miss Xiao maintained her expression, but there was a trace of frostiness deep in her eyes. I wonder what would the question be, sir? Half a year ago, there were a few 9 Stars Palace disciples who came to Luogu territory for some adventures and came to Qingxiao City. However, not long after their arrival in Qingxiao City, all 6 of them, including junior brother Luo Zhen, disappeared without a trace. Do you know anything about this? Asked Bai Dao coldly. Hearing the story, Xiao Heng and the core disciples felt slightly surprised. Luo Zhen. It was not an unfamiliar name to them. Although he was not one of the 12 minor kings and his reputation was not as prestigious as Bai Dao, Luo Zhen was absolutely one of the most outstanding disciples from 9 Stars Palace. Furthermore, just like Bai Dao, Luo Zhen was also the palace master's personal disciple. How did a prodigal disciple like that disappear in Qingxiao City? Seeing that Miss Xiao did not react to the question, Bai Dao continued to speak. After realizing that junior brother Luo Zhen and his group disappeared, we did everything we could to investigate this matter. After investigating half a year, we finally found out that the 100 Flowers Tower was the last place they visited and the last person they met was you. Would you deny that the disappearance of junior brother Luo Zhen and his group had nothing to do with you? Bai Dao and the 2 first-class divine demons next to him stared straight at Miss Xiao. The fact that they dared to confront her personally meant that what they said had fairly solid grounds. Even though they could not prove that Luo Zhen and the rest died in Miss Xiao's hands, they could at least be certain that their disappearance was deeply related to Miss Xiao. Miss Xiao laughed hearing Bai Dao's words. Looks like the 9 Stars sect has pretty good intelligence sources, huh? You could actually trace this far. So it is you. Bai Dao's expression turned grim, and his massive god power began its oppression against Miss Xiao. The god power of a first-class divine demon could even make third-class and second-class divine demons shudder. However, Miss Xiao did not budge at all. You lowly maid, where are junior brother Luo Zhen and his group right now? Growled Bai Dao. Oh, them? Let me think. Miss Xiao pretended to think deeply and after a long while and acted as if she just recalled. Oh, I remember. They are all dead. Chapter 2388, Suicide All Dead? Bai Dao and his companions' hearts skipped a beat. Even though they had guessed as much, they still felt incredibly hard to accept when it was a confirmed fact. They did not feel too strongly about the other disciples in the group, but the crucial one was Luo Zhen. He was the most outstanding disciple from 9 Stars Palace aside from Bai Dao. He was also 9 Stars Palace Master's personal disciple, guaranteed to become a peak-stage divine demon in the future and even had a high possibility to surpass divine demon realm into a higher level. The premature death of such a genius was truly a great loss to 9 Stars Palace. You lowly maid, be honest with me. How did junior brother Luo Zhan and the rest die? Who killed them? Bai Dao stared at Miss Xiao. No, I think you've misunderstood. They weren't killed, they committed suicide. Miss Xiao shook her head relentlessly. Suicide? Bai Dao pondered for a second and immediately became extremely angry. You lowly maid, are you tricking me? Suicide? Why would a respectable first-class divine demon commit suicide? What a joke. I surely wasn't tricking you, it's the truth. You may not believe me now, but very soon you will. Miss Xiao smiled devilishly. As she was smiling, her eyes started glowing with a faint red light. It was so faint that if one did not look closely, it would not be seen. However, the red light had special magic power. Almost in an instant, Bai Dao, who was standing right in front of Miss Xiao, and both first-class divine demons behind him changed their expressions. Bai Dao was slightly better than the other two, whose eyes became hollow and idle. I've already said that people do kill themselves. Even first-class divine demons are like that. Don't you agree? Said Miss Xiao nonchalantly, but her tone was extremely cold. Yes. The ones who answered were the two first-class divine demons behind Bai Dao. Their expressions became completely dull as Xiao Heng and everyone else watched in disbelief. They each took out a dagger before stabbing their hearts without hesitation. The dagger's power also broke all their internal organs into pieces while penetrating their hearts. However, these two first-class divine demons did not make a sound. They remained expressionless as they slowly pulled the daggers out from their hearts and collapsed together onto the ground. Xiao Heng and the rest of them shuddering. In the blink of an eye, the two first-class divine demons who were still ready to seek revenge from Miss Xiao a moment ago had turned into two corpses. Most importantly, what killed them was not anyone else but themselves. They took out the daggers and stabbed themselves in the heart. They really committed suicide. That, even Bai Dao was dumbfounded. Even though he was the most outstanding genius from Nine Stars Palace, as one of the 12 minor kings and a true cream of the crop, he had not seen such a sight. That was a horrible sight. You demon, what have you done? Bai Dao sounded hysterical. He wanted to cut down Miss Xiao, who was right in front of him, but realized to his horror that he could even move a step. He was overtaken by a mysterious power under her stare. That power rose directly from his own heart, gradually took over his mind, consciousness, and everything. Fortunately, he was quite strong and mentally grounded. Therefore, he could somewhat pull himself together, but only after putting in a forceful effort. Miss Xiao smiled mildly. What have I done? I've already said, your junior brother Luo Zhan committed suicide. Since you didn't believe me, I had to prove it to you. But don't you worry, you will also kill yourself just like they did. What? Bai Dao was stunned. Right then, he saw a shade of red. The shade of red was projected from Miss Xiao's eyes. The very faint red light from before became extremely bright at this moment. Against the red light, Miss Xiao began to look bewitching. The powers that were eating up Bai Dao in his own body suddenly surged more than tenfold. It only took a blink of an eye by force to break down his mind's defensive line. Standing on the ground, Bai Dao's eyes started becoming hollow as well and his expression became dull. A brief moment later, he flipped his wrist and took out his dagger just like the other two first-class divine demons before stabbing his own heart. Without hesitation or mercy. In just a short instance, Bai Dao, one of Wuxia Wilderness' 12 minor kings, had followed his companion's footsteps of finishing himself by committing suicide. The empty field surrounded by the woods was completely silent. Dead silent. Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples from Narcissus Island were completely dumbfounded. They were scared to that point that even their bodies were frenziedly shaking. The 3 big first-class divine demons, including Bai Dao, one of the 12 minor kings, died before them in the most senseless way. From the beginning to the end, Miss Xiao did not raise a finger. A glance from her was all it took. She killed 3 first-class divine demons just like that. What method was that? Xiao Heng could not help but take another glance at Miss Xiao. The passion and craze in his eyes had completely vanished and been replaced with tremendous fear. He could not think otherwise towards Miss Xiao anymore. Now that he finally understood that this woman was not what he thought she was at all. She was not a seductive beauty, but a terrifying femme fatale. Next, he thought of what Jen Wuxuang told them, that woman was not so simple. They finally understood why Jen Wuxuang would say that. How simple could a person be, when she could easily make the 3 big first-class divine demons commit suicide with just her glance? Why would she require a few mere third-class divine demons to rescue her? Not only Xiao Heng and the core disciples, but even Jen Wuxuang was also secretly stunned by the method Miss Xiao utilized to kill off Bai Dao and his companions. Was that soul manipulation? No, if it's really soul manipulation, Bai Dao and his companions' expressions wouldn't look like that and Xiao wouldn't have to kill them. From appearances, it seemed like some sort of bewitchment. That's right, it was bewitchment. Jen Wuxuang raised his head and took a glance at Miss Xiao with fear in his eyes. Right at that moment, Miss Xiao glanced over at him as well. The red light in her eyes was still there. Chapter 2389, Jen Wuxuang and Miss Xiao. 1. No. Jen Wuxuang looked terrified. Almost at the same moment when Miss Xiao looked at him, a mysterious power started to rise from his body. The source of the power was the inner demons. It wanted to eat up his mind and his everything. The crucial aspect was that while it was eating him up, Jen Wuxuang felt an incomparable satisfaction and comfort. It was such an amazing feeling that he could not help but let himself sink in. Jen Wuxuang finally understood how the 3 first-class divine demons could not even fight it off. Not only first-class divine demons, even peak-stage divine demons or those above divine demon realm could easily be conquered by that mysterious power from the inner demons should they so much as slightly lose their concentration. Only a grounded mind could withstand an attack method such as that. Jen Wuxuang let out a cold harumph while still standing at the same place with frosty eyes. The rising power of the inner demons was completely suppressed by him. Your bewitching tactic which comes from inner demons is truly impressive. Regretfully, it doesn't work on me, said Jen Wuxuang with a deep tone. He had lived for 100,000 years in his past life which he had been through so many trials and tribulations, especially the 3 inverse cultivation tests. They were all tremendous tests for his mind and will. After going through that many challenges, his mind had become as indestructible as iron cubes. The bewitchment method that Miss Xiao used was truly powerful, but it would be a joke if she wanted to control him with it. Haha, you're truly something, huh? Miss Xiao smiled plainly, gradually dimming the red light in her eyes. She then looked towards Jen Wuxuang again and said, compared to that rubbish before, you're truly not just at level higher. However, if I really want to kill you, I have many ways to do it. As soon as she was done speaking, a dark shadow flashed by and a phantom-like figure appeared next to Miss Xiao. That phantom figure was a young woman in black. Jen Wuxuang, Xiao Heng, and the rest immediately recognized her. She was Little Li, the maid who was serving Miss Xiao in 100 Flowers Tower. The impression that she gave off before was also one of gentle and weak. However, Little Li's face was now as frosty as ice. What was especially surprising was the aura of divine power she was projecting. That divine power aura was even stronger than the late Bai Taos and not by just 1 level. Peak stage divine demon. She is a peak stage divine demon? Xiao Heng and the core disciples were startled. Peak stage divine demon was above first-class divine demon. That stage could only be achieved by governors of the old cities in Luogu territory. Even for top-tier sects like Narcissus Island, there were only a few peak-stage divine demons which could be counted with 10 fingers. But, a maid next to Miss Xiao was actually a peak-stage divine demon. Peak-stage divine demon, huh? Your aura-concealing technique is quite impressive that you even fooled me, Jen Wuxuang murmured to himself. Miss, would you like me to kill them? As soon as Little Li appeared, she inquired. A peak-stage divine demon. If an expert like that made a move, even Jen Wuxuang, who used vicious methods to kill off every man from Mu clan a moment ago, would not have much chance to fight back. Furthermore, there was an even more terrifying person, Miss Xiao. Hearing Little Li's inquiry, Miss Xiao raised her eyebrows and looked at Jen Wuxuang with a half-smile. Your name is Jen Wuxuang, correct? Now that Little Li has asked, tell me, should I kill all of you off right here? Jian Wushuang was still incredibly calm. Miss Xiao. I've said just now, Narcissus Island has no relationship with the Mu clan. They were even using us. Moreover, I've killed off all the men from Mu clan, shouldn't you be satisfied by now? Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples finally understood why Jian Wushuang annihilated all the Mu clan experts. It turned out that he already knew their lives were all within Miss Xiao's palm. He did it just to make her happy, hoping that she would let them live. Furthermore, Jian Wushuang had told Miss Xiao since the beginning and asked her to show mercy. Jian Wushuang had always been with us and interacted with Miss Xiao. We had not realized anything fishy, but he realized so many things. What kind of a monster is he? Xiao Heng exclaimed in his mind. However, it was not the time to think about those things. He only hoped that Miss Xiao could show them some mercy. Your performance was truly quite impressive. If those 3 from 9 Stars Palace didn't show up, I could have let you live based on your merit of killing all the Mu clan's men. However, now that all of you have witnessed me killing the 9 Stars Palace people, which includes their most outstanding prodigy Bai Dao, who was one of the 12 minor kings. If words went to the 9 Stars Palace, it could bring me quite a bit of trouble. Therefore, the best way is to kill all those who know about this. That way, word wouldn't get out. Don't you agree? Miss Xiao playfully looked at Jian Wushuang. Certainly, I would have done that if it was me, said Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang. Xiao Heng and the rest started to panic when they heard him saying that. I assent it. Since even you think so, tell me, is there an excuse for me not to kill you all? Said Miss Xiao playfully. Of course there are plenty of excuses. For example, if you've killed us, not only you aren't able to hide the murder of Bai Dao, Luo Zhen, and their lot. You will also deeply offend Narcissus Island. Jian Wushuang smiled. Oh. Miss Xiao's expression changed and immediately laughed. You are joking, aren't you? This part of spacetime has already been completely sealed, who would know if I killed you? I regret to say, Miss Xiao, you probably didn't notice that the surrounding spacetime seal had gone through some changes, or should I say, there are some flaws. Jian Wushuang gave a big smile. What? Miss Xiao startled. Little Li, who stood next to her, immediately reached out her senses to feel the spacetime around them. It was true that the time-space seal set up by the Mu clan experts had already shown some flaws. It was you? Miss Xiao glanced at Jian Wushuang. Haha, it's a spacetime seal which involves spacetime force. It just so happens that I'm one who studies spacetime law and has learned a few tricks. When I was killing the Mu clan experts, I had already started working on unsealing it to leave a backdoor for myself, of course. Jian Wushuang smiled. You actually had additional energy to shake up the spacetime seal around you while slaughtering the Mu clan people? Miss Xiao was feeling surprised. Chapter 2390, Jian Wushuang and Miss Xiao, 2. Xiao Heng and his companions stared at Jian Wushuang as if he was some sort of monster. They could not imagine that he could have already predicted what would happen since the very beginning, and because of that, he had prepared an escape plan for himself. Moreover, the escape plan was laid out simultaneously when he was busy slaughtering the Mu clan experts. A method such as that was truly shocking. Miss Xiao, there are already gaps in the spacetime seal around us, and I'm in control of them. As long as I wish to, every single thing that happened here will be reported to Elder Wujian of Narcissus Island. At that point in time, you would not only deeply offend 9 Stars Palace, you would also profoundly offend Narcissus Island. Of course, if you have the skills to kill me before I could even transmit the message, then by all means please make your move. I'm not trying to be arrogant, but just by using your bewitchment technique and your peak stage divine demon maid, even with enough time it would still be hard for you to kill me right here, let alone stopping me from transmitting the message. Jian Wushuang, while wearing a confident smile on his face. When it came to battle strength, he was comparable to first-class divine demon but still a far cry from Little Li's peak stage divine demon. However, it was not easy for a peak stage divine demon to kill him either. The crucial point was that he was a perfect chaotic creature, not to mention that he had fairly deep insights on spacetime law that would allow him to escape based on his own speed. The second perfect chaotic creature born in the world would not be someone who could get killed so easily. Miss Xiao's eyes calmly looked at Jian Wushuang. Little Li on the side had her eyebrows locked tightly. They both could feel Jian Wushuang's absolute confidence and had to admit that they probably would not be able to kill him within a short time, even if they attacked him together. Jian Wushuang, you're brilliant, but you truly look down on me. Narcissus Island? 9 Stars Palace? What are they? You really think that I would worry about them? Miss Xiao burst out laughing. You wouldn't, but you don't like trouble, especially now. If my guess is right, you deliberately exposed your whereabouts to Mu clan with full preparation beforehand, and you're probably going to attack them in the near future. At this juncture, you want to avoid provoking large sects like Narcissus Island and 9 Stars Palace, said Jian Wushuang with a smile. Miss Xiao squinted immediately. She did prepare to make a move on Mu clan, and she did deliberately expose her whereabouts to the Mu clan. However, how did Jian Wushuang predict all of that? Interesting, it's getting more and more interesting. Miss Xiao's tone had a shade of playfulness while she was speaking, and the red light in her eyes started to reappear. She was looking towards Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples this time. Xiao Heng and the core disciples could not react at all before their eyes started turning into a daze before immediately collapsing to the ground. Jian Wushuang took a short glance behind at 5 of them and knew that Miss Xiao did not kill them but merely made them faint. With the 5 of them blacked out, the only ones still standing were Jian Wushuang, Miss Xiao, and the chambermaid, Little Li. Miss Xiao smiled. Jian Wushuang, you do have superior eyes and could see behind everything, but I could also see quite many of your matters. When you were cutting down the Mu clan's men a while ago, you had utilized 2 secret skills. The first secret skill was using a mysterious power that had already merged with your divine power, blood, and essence. This kind of power is really potent as it's able to push your realm level from the middle stage chaotic realm all the way up to the peak of it and even extremely close to peak stage divine realm, directly promoting you by half a realm. Secret skills that could directly level up your realm while not presenting any side effects are rare, even in the ancient god domain. If I'm not mistaken, what you used was the 7 stars secret skill of 7 stars black sec. Jian Wushuang was shocked but did not show it on his face. As for the second secret skill, which formed a 300 feet hologram behind you and pushed your battle strength even higher, I know it as well. It's Divine God of Punishment from the 7 Stars Black Sect. Rumor has it that 7 Stars Black Sect possesses 5 of the strongest secret skills. 7 Stars secret skills and the Divine God of Punishment were among them. The 7 Stars Black Sect regards secret skills like this as something extremely precious to them. They almost never pass it to outsiders. If an outsider had unusually good luck and was able to use one of the secret skills, he would be considered very impressive. However, to possess 2 of the secret skills from 7 Stars Black Sect, it's absolutely impossible. However, to be at middle stage chaotic realm and possessing 2 secret skills from 7 Stars Black Sect? Haha, your relationship with the now perished 7 Stars Black Sect must be quite unusual. Miss Xiao stared at Jian Wushuang with a half smile. Jian Wushuang raised his head and looked at her deeply, but smiled right away. Miss Xiao also has very good eyes. The process of destroying the Mu clan experts was very short and I only used the secret skills for an even shorter time, yet you could still recognize them. However, just because you were able to identify these 2 secret skills, you have also exposed yourself at the same time. Neither 7 Stars secret skills nor Divine God of Punishment was the most important secret skills in the 7 Stars Black Sect. It's not easy for someone to recognize these skills. It wasn't even easy for someone who had fought against these 2 skills to identify them through my battle just now. The only people who've gotten extremely familiar with them through deep studies, been in contact with them physically, and practiced them could recognize the 2 secret skills at first sight. Miss Xiao, you're the second Miss of Mu clan and was born in Wuxia Wilderness. Up until now, you probably had less than 20 years of practice, so how could you've known about 7 Stars Black Sect? How could you be familiar with these 2 secret skills? I'm afraid there is only one explanation to this, Miss Xiao. You arrived at Wuxia Wilderness only after going through samsara, am I right? Jian Wushuang stared dead at Miss Xiao. Miss Xiao also looked at Jian Wushuang at the same time. There was an absolute coldness in her eyes. Within the coldness, There was a bit of fear hidden. Yes, it was fear. Miss Xiao did not care much about Zhen Wushuang in the beginning, but she really felt a little fear at that moment. However, the fact is that Zhen Wushuang had an even bigger fear towards her. Both of them had extremely powerful minds and vision. Miss Xiao identified the two secret skills that Zhen Wushuang practiced and his unusual relationship with Seven Stars Black Sect simply by observing his short battle. While, precisely because of that, Zhen Wushuang could identify Miss Xiao as someone like himself who have been through the reincarnation passage and ended up in Wuxia wilderness using samsara. Chapter 2391, Zhen Wushuang and Miss Xiao, 3, Samsara. Zhen Wushuang sighed secretly in his mind. Samsara was an incredible method. Even within ancient god domain, there were only a mere few who could send a person into the reincarnation passage and rebirth with spiritual energy. That was the reason why there was hardly anybody who was reincarnated in the ancient god domain. However, there were two such people within the tiny Wuxia territory at the same time. One was Zhen Wushuang himself, the other was Miss Xiao who stood before him. The difference was that Zhen Wushuang came from the eternal chaotic world, a completely sealed-off world. However, Miss Xiao, someone who could achieve samsara, must be one with an incredible origin. Miss Xiao understands the secret skills of Seven Stars Black Sect so well, plus your method of bewitchment is so unique and outstanding. You must have been a major figure in the ancient god domain, but you were forced to enter samsara because of some special circumstances. In situations such as this, if I were to expose your history, it would most probably put you at a great disadvantage. Yes. Zhen Wushuang smiled. He knew that any reincarnated person always had a specific reason to enter the reincarnation passage. Furthermore, the reasons must be compelling enough for her to choose to be reborn into the next life. Hence, before she could completely restore her strength, Miss Xiao certainly would not want to expose her true identity. Are you threatening me, Zhen Wushuang? Miss Xiao took a cold glance at Zhen Wushuang. I do have some major origin, but your origin is probably even bigger than mine. The Seven Stars Black Sect had already perished completely, this is common knowledge. However, there is now a person who possesses two secret skills from the sect and had a deep relationship with it. I'm sure a lot of people from the ancient god domain would be very interested in you, correct? I'm afraid the 3 divine realms, 4 god tribes, and 8 heavenly sects would find you. Zhen Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Indeed. Hence, we both have things to worry about, or should I say, we've both got the goods on each other. Why do we have to try to destroy each other? It wouldn't do either of us any good. Why don't we each take a step back and keep the secret for each other? What do you think? Sure. Miss Xiao did not hesitate and nodded right away. She had a demonic mind and could tell what Zhen Wushuang said was true. Both of them had huge origins and possessed massive secrets. Most importantly, they had no enmity toward each other, to begin with. All the same, Miss Xiao had no enmity towards Seven Stars Black Sect. On the contrary, they had some friendship. Since that was the case, why would they need to fight each other to death? I can let you live today. When we walk away, we each have to keep the other's secrets and never to tell anyone. Otherwise, we'll fight each other to death, said Miss Xiao frostily. Zhen Wushuang nodded and smiled. Of course. Oh yes, how about my senior brothers here? Miss Xiao took a quick look at Xiao Hang and his group who had fainted earlier. You're saying those 5? They are fools and didn't get to know much. However, they also saw me killing Bai Dao and his companions. If I leave them here, it wouldn't be good for me. Miss Xiao, these 5 people came here with me on a mission. If they are all dead and I return as the sole survivor, it would be hard for me to explain when I get back to Narcissus Island. Therefore, I would like to ask for Miss Xiao's mercy again. After this, I'll warn them not to speak a word about what happened today with anyone, said Zhen Wushuang. In fact, he did not care if Xiao Hung and the rest were dead or alive. The important crux was, if they really died, he would not know how to explain when he got back to Narcissus Island. Who would believe that 5 core disciples died in the process of carrying out a mission, while a mere outer disciple survived and returned unscathed. Can you guarantee that they won't speak about it? Asked Miss Xiao. Well, Jian Wushuang smiled wryly. He really could not guarantee. After all, it was up to Xiao Heng and the rest of the group if they wanted to talk about it. Furthermore, he did not know them well enough. More so, he could forget about ordering them to do anything. Forget it, even if the word got out, it would just be 9 Stars Palace that I have to face, a bit of extra trouble but nothing too serious. Seeing that you're doing me a favor, I'll let them live, but you have to agree on one condition, said Miss Xiao. What is it? Asked Jian Wushuang. It's simple, you owe me a favor. Although I have no use for it right now, it's a guarantee that I'll need it in the future. When that opportunity comes and I need your help, you cannot decline, said Miss Xiao. Jian Wushuang shook his head hearing that. Miss Xiao, you've probably overestimated the value of these 5 senior brothers of mine. I'm not friends with them, I truly don't care whether they live or die, I just don't want to put myself in a difficult position when I go back. If you want to exchange a favor from me with their lives, it isn't enough. After all, returning a favor could cost much. Though, I do have a suggestion that might interest you. And what is it? Miss Xiao looked over. We can forge an alliance now. If you run into any troubles in the future, I will do everything I can to help. But, if I need your help one day, you'll have to help me with all your ability as well, said Jian Wushuang solemnly. He knew that Miss Xiao probably had no hatred against the 7 Stars Black Sect, but might even have a rather close friendship. In addition, it was worthwhile forging an alliance with someone who had such a huge background. After all, his own identity was too sensitive and he had too many enemies. 3 divine realms, 4 god tribes, and 8 heavenly sects were something that he had to face eventually. At that moment, he certainly needed some powerful friends. This Miss Xiao was definitely a rather good choice for a friend. Alliance her? Miss Xiao pondered for a moment and slowly nodded her head. Sure, I will forge an alliance with you. Haha. Then, I wish us a happy alliance. Jian Wushuang laughed heartily. Don't get so happy too soon. I know quite a bit about 7 Stars Black Sect and I know what you have to face from here on. I wouldn't be able to do much myself when the time comes. Miss Xiao froze his enthusiasm right then. Oh, I know. But it's always better than me facing them alone. Besides, this is just the beginning. From now on, I will find ways to make stronger and reliable friends. Jian Wushuang smiled. This is my message token, we can communicate through this token. Miss Xiao passed a token to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang accepted it. Jian Wushuang, I will leave Wuxia Wilderness rather soon, you better catch up. Your current ability is still a far cry from being my ally. Little Li, let's go. After she spoke, Miss Xiao turned around and left with Little Li. Chapter 2392. Admonishment. Jian Wushuang stood there watching Miss Xiao and Little Li leave while wearing a wry smile. He could see that his new ally had a sense of dislike towards him. Surely, it was because of his abilities. Abilities. Looks like I need to restore my peak condition as soon as I can and improve my abilities. Otherwise, I really wouldn't be qualified to become her ally. Jian Wushuang sighed but very soon calmed himself down. On the other hand, Miss Xiao and Little Li were on their way back to 100 Flowers Tower. Along the way, Miss, do we really want to forge an alliance with that Jian Wushuang character? Asked a puzzled Little Li. Miss Xiao took a glance at Little Li. Or else. Because of his relationship with 7 Stars Black Sect, I can't possibly kill him. Other than that, his mind was really sharp, being able to see so many things within such a short time. His ability was still a little weak, but one has to know that everybody starts from being weak before reaching the peak. Even the high and mighty master of divine realms is also the same. You have also witnessed his gift. Being a middle-stage chaotic realm, he could cut down second-class divine demons. Although assisted by 2 secret skills of 7 Stars Black Sect, the mere fact that he could achieve that proves he is unusual. He may not be of any use to us currently, but who knows if we might really be able to use him. Little Li said, understood. After we get back, I'll send someone to watch him closely. Miss Xiao waved her hand. No need. No need to pay attention to him, just let him be. Our target right now is Mu clan. The clan has been around for so long, it's time for them to disappear. In the empty field half a day later, Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples who fainted gradually regained their consciousness. What happened? What happened to me? They were all puzzled. Looking around them, the corpses were all cleaned up and Jian Wushuang was just casually sitting on the side. As for Miss Xiao and her maid, they were long gone. Senior brothers, you're awake. Jian Wushuang looked over. Junior brother Jian Wushuang, what actually happened? Xiao Heng's attitude towards Jian Wushuang had changed completely. Before that, neither he nor the 4 core disciples treated Jian Wushuang seriously and never addressed him as junior brother Jian Wushuang. They had always directly called his name. However, when they faced him, they felt a sense of respect. Respect. Although they had fainted, they could still clearly remember everything that happened previously. They were completely floored by both Jian Wushuang's abilities and mind. In their eyes, Jian Wushuang should be categorized as a monster. However, they did not understand why was a monster only an outer disciple of Narcissus Island. Nothing, there were just some things that she didn't want you to know, so Miss Xiao temporarily made you lose consciousness, said Jian Wushuang. Xiao Heng finally understood. Is that so? Where is Miss Xiao then? Gone, back to 100 Flowers Tower. Why, do you actually still want to bring her back to Narcissus Island? Or, would you rather make her stay beside you and possess her completely? Jian Wushuang ridiculed. Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples shuddered when they heard what he said. Possessing Miss Xiao? If it was earlier on, they truly had that thought, but now, the idea had vanished into thin air. They also lost a little bit of craze towards Miss Xiao. In replacement was fear, an incredible fear. Miss Xiao was absolutely the scariest woman they had ever met. They would even call her an absolute demon. Without raising a finger, she manipulated Bai Tao's group and made them kill themselves. What kind of method was that? They shivered just at the thought of that. Senior brothers, even though Miss Xiao has left and did not kill you, but there are some things that I have to clarify with you. Jian Wushuang's tone suddenly became solemn. First, you must forget everything you saw today, including the Mu clan experts and Bai Tao's group. You must forget all of it. I did not kill the Mu clan experts and you've never even seen Bai Tao's group, understand? Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples' hearts skipped. Even though they were not very smart, they were definitely not stupid. They all understood what Jian Wushuang meant. Don't worry, junior brother. The 5 of us will not say a word about what happened here today, said Xiao Heng. That would be best, otherwise, nobody can save you. Even Narcissus Island wouldn't be able to, said Jian Wushuang. Xiao Heng and the rest were shocked, but when they thought of Miss Xiao's method of killing, they understood what he meant. Secondly, we have failed our mission. When we return to Narcissus Island, let's tell the Divine Mystery Pavilion of our opinion on the mission is too dangerous and couldn't find an opportunity to take action, so we gave up. Divine Mystery Pavilion probably wouldn't ask further. Even if they would ask, you can find some excuses and deceive them, said Jian Wushuang. Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples all nodded. The Divine Mystery Pavilion on Narcissus Island was only responsible for assigning missions. They would give rewards for accomplished missions. It was not a big issue either if the mission was not accomplished. The most serious scenario would be punishment and was of little consequences. Divine Mystery Pavilion would not usually ask about the mission's process. Jian Wushuang said, thirdly, Miss Xiao actually wanted to slaughter all 5 of you. But I did all I could, even sacrificing something to convince her to let you live. Due to that, I'm at a great loss, so the 5 of you will have to think of a way to repay me. Naturally. Xiao Heng nodded without hesitation. If it wasn't for you, junior brother Wushuang, the 5 of us would probably have died many times. Of course, we wouldn't let you go through a bigger loss, said one of the core disciples. Jian Wushuang laughed inside. He did not quite fancy the 5 of them. Of course, he would take some advantage out of them given the opportunity. Well, the actual price wasn't something big, just some elixirs that helped raise divine power. The only thing is that it's quite a lot. Zhen Wushuang began to tell his story. After a round of discussion, Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples finally decided to give Zhen Wushuang 90% of the elixir that they had. While in the next 3 years, they would also give him all the resources that they could get as core disciples on Narcissus Island. This was as good as severe bleeding to the 5 of them, but they had no complaints. After all, between precious resources and their lives, it was obvious that the latter was more important. Zhen Wushuang took a huge advantage from the 5 of them, in addition to the interspatial rings that he obtained from all the Mu clan experts that he killed. Only the interspatial rings of Bai Dao and his companions were taken by Miss Xiao. It was safe to say that he had a massive gain from this trip. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.